just finished with this fancy shackle right here. My buddy cut it out for me, TT Motorsports. If you guys need any work, definitely go to him. Now this is the process of making the new shackle. So right now it's kind of just a pile of metal that's cut in different ways. And this is how you do it. First you're going to take your bolts, your sleeve, and start putting them together. But a big tip right here that's going to be super helpful is kind of get a really thin washer, kind of as thin as you could find, just nothing too thick. Anyways, you're gonna stick it around the sleeve in that little space right there. God, it's so noisy right now. Anyways, this little space right here is gonna allow you to get the sleeve in and out with ease. If you weld it all together and there isn't that little gap right there, it just makes it a pain in the butt to replace anything in the future. So that's a big deal. That little guy right there is going to save you a lot of headaches in the future if you have to work on this thing anywhere at any time. So anyways, now it's here. I'm going to put this secondary piece right here. Boom. Now, you can see that little sliver in there. It's just enough to create a gap for when everything's welded. I've gone ahead already and I've cleaned up all the surface where I'm going to be welding. And now, start lining out, if you haven't welded this material in a while, to do a little test weld on something else that's not important, so you don't just make a big old splatter mess on the nice fancy piece you're trying. Another quick thing, I'm gonna start here in this bottom corner, only because that's gonna be a good spot where if I need a pivot, if the tack doesn't, the first tack gets whatever, pushes anything around, it's gonna be a good spot to pivot everything back to where it needs to be. So I try and make my tacks not too big. That way when I go back and do the weld, the pass over it, it doesn't just bubble up right there and look all goofy. So a little bit of a gap on this, but I'm not going to care too much because I'm going to end up welding both sides and it'll stick it together. But
we done.
All good? You guys are done?
Yeah.
All right, 1 second, I'll grab it. So I'm not like the most amazing welder. I do okay. So I only like to weld one direction. So like I'll start my weld here and I know that I weld like left to right like I'm reading. So I'm just going to go this way, out, and then on this side it'll be the opposite direction of weld. It's just the way I like to weld. So and now I am going to move it around. Like I said, I'm not just going to burn the whole thing one direction on one side. So I did one corner, put a nice little weld there. Now I'm going to start on the other corner. So putting the other plate on, I don't know, I guess this is the part that mounts to the frame, I don't know, back plate, whatever you want to call it. Basically, simple as just centering it up on here. I centered it up. I have two little dots that I went off on each side. You can kind of see there, and because I used these holes as a reference to make sure everything was straight because there's a curve in this. So anyways, just center it right up on there and weld it on. It's pretty much that easy. now to make the shackles. So I just finished up the first shackle build. This shackle is all welded up and it looks good. It looks like what it's supposed to look like. It's still really hot right now. My sleeve right here slides in and out, somewhat of an ease. So anyways, gonna put this to the side right now and start the second build of the shackle. So after you've cleaned everything up, you got a nice good surface to weld on. You're gonna want to take these two plates that are cut to kind of make the shackle corners. I didn't cut everything out. Again, Tommy, TT Motorsports, did all this for me. It's been awesome. And did I? Oh yeah, I got some welding spatter on my lens. That's great. So you're gonna want to do the same kind of thing you did on the shackle hangers. I'm using the same little washer piece I cut myself, super thin. I just couldn't find a washer thin enough, so this will do what I need it to do. So you take your shackle bolt, you stick it through said shackle hanger piece with the sleeve, with the little washer you got, and you put the other side on and you bolt them together. Doesn't have to be insanely tight. Again, basically just tight enough to make sure this thing's connected. So at this point, now you're going to take the tubing that you have that's going to create the sleeve for the bushings and this little spacer guy to go inside it, or sleeve, or whatever you want to call it. And you want to measure out to make sure these are the right length. And when I say measure, I mean use your eyeballs, because that's fine. At this point, I'm just going to go ahead and tack it together. When you're mating two surfaces like this together, you want to put your weld focused on the tubing, because that has the most material and therefore it's going to take the longest time to heat up. And these little corner right here, or on this side, you can see that little corner is going to heat up a lot faster than this big massive surface. So kind of angle your weld in to this part right here and it'll pull this metal in as it gets hot. So and that helps when you do it like that. It helps kind of make that weld is somewhat flat. It doesn't just bubble up on here and then not really get a whole lot on here. So I've got two plates for your shackle and there's two angles. See the difference? So basically one plate goes over the very top of your shackle, the other plate folds in like this, and in the end it looks like so if I don't burn my hand. So top plate, bottom plate folds into the top plate, welds all together. Tommy, cool enough. You put it on there. I mean, you can figure it out pretty quick, but 27 degrees, 45. So as you weld and do tack welds and whatnot, the metal moves a little bit because that weld itself starts to cool down and it pulls itself in. So you want to go back and adjust. Don't think just because you tacked it, it's in the perfect spot. So. Alright, so I've got the inside welded. Now before I weld the outside plate, I'm going to get this plate in here, weld it where it needs to go, but before I do that, since I have welds, this is really hot right now so it's hard to hold, but since I have a couple welds in here, these corners on this plate are going to hit and they're not going to seat all the way, so I'm going to take the corners down real quick and then put her in. That's where she needs to go. Very easy to forget how hot it is. I don't want it. Start on this corner. And that's what my Saturday looks like. Leaf spring's all torn down, folder end, which is for sale. Anybody that needs that.